the ceremonial kick.
Set for the executive kickoff.
Come on.
Look at that. He can always do it.
Governor Babatunde Fashola of Lagos State kicking off the final between Toybat Primary School and Ebute Metta Primary School.
And that is it, the kickoff here by Ebute Metta Primary School, playing from the right to the left of your screen, as Toybat Primary School are playing from the left to the right.
It was a game which attracted a huge crowd of spectators at the Teslim Balogun Stadium, as they were excited owing to the impressive start of play of both teams en route to the final.
Deng Dong affair, no go to Ebute Metta, no go to Toybat. This is the first half.
The Lagos Derby is one game that will be on the lips of many for a long time, as the kids display fantastic style of play that wowed not only the spectators but also dignitaries present.
More pressure, and that's what the coaches should have done. I mean, working on their psyche before starting this game. So,
with the game heading for penalties, it was more like a never-ending journey in the penalty shootout.
Yes. Goal number 1 to Toybat.
But it was Toybat that eventually emerged victorious.
The goalkeeper of
pressure on this
Ebute
young
Metta
man.
now. Ebute Metta has penalty.
He misses! And Toybat are champions!
And it's Toybat that are champions of China's Kids Cup 2014. The new champions of this competition, where the champions they are, because they fought.
There's no doubt that the next generation of football stars have just been discovered. For Toybat, they will enjoy the bragging rights of being called the Channel's National Kids Cup champions for another year.
What a match that was yesterday, and what a tournament, the Channel's now National Kids Cup. Well, then Bayan joins us now to discuss this matter. You were also there yesterday, and you saw this young lads play their football. And what struck you when you saw all of this talent on display?
What really struck me was the fact that these were actually kids. I mean, we all played football when we were young. You could see their movements, their touches, they are kids. No matter how good they were, you could see those schoolboy and childish mistakes. But what impressed me was the penalty shootout. The composure at that age, what some of those children were doing, even I cannot even fathom even thinking of doing that. It was very, 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 very impressive. What was also impressive was the spread of talent. I mean, the best goalkeeper came from Ebonyi. The MVP came from Oyo State. It was that kind of spread. And it's good to know that there's still that interest at this age, that it's not... I didn't see one thing I hate from kids, which is simulation. Sometimes you're coaching kids, you see them do simulation. I didn't see that yesterday, which made me very happy. Right from the beginning, I remember this school from, I think, Warri, that didn't come with boots. Reminded me so much of myself up to university when I didn't know how to play with boots at all. I would carry them to the pitch and appeal to play barefooted. So I could never play Dean's Cup because I didn't know how to wear boots. And I saw that that's just the rawness of it, that these kids couldn't play with boots. They are that young, they are that raw. And I hope that some sort of database, and this is where now the media in general and the sporting agencies need to come in, and even the government agencies to get their records, get a database of these kids. You've seen some of them who are good. You've seen potential in some of them. Let's start tracking them. I mean, in a few years now, we start looking for, like now, they said the under-15 just won gold for Team Nigeria and Botswana. Fantastic, but everybody knows my view on our age grade teams. I don't really believe in them.
Well, with this kind of...
This is what we should follow up on. These are the boys we should follow up on. These are the boys who should be playing under 15 for us in 2-3 years. These are the boys who, after that, you move up to under 17. These are the kids which you have, because now we have their school records, how old they were when they entered.
Wow. I mean, you saw a keeper save.
Yes,
he saved that ball.
There was a particular kid, Idris Toybat, his penalty, as he had me nearly knock somebody off his seat in front of me. It was just the sheer cheek of it. And the good thing, like I was saying, is we know they're going to do common entrance. You know their ages. You know everything about them, their backgrounds. So nobody can come and give you another age later. And you avoid the embarrassment Ayla is facing now, where the team doctor went on TV in Moscow to say that he's much older than he claims to be. And the younger kids in Dynamo call him Grandfather Ayla. You want to avoid that kind of embarrassment.
So these kind of tournaments, could actually go a long way in saying that there addresses all of those
because every time we
challenges.
use overage players, we deprive a generation at least of playing football. And you know, the Channels Kids Cup was like the climax of a series of events we've been seeing. We've seen the Dawn games, we've seen the Ibile games. They've all been happening, and a lot of talent has been coming out. My only hope is that we don't just after the tournament forget these kids and wait till next year, because now I think it's Channels has said something, Lagos State has said something. It's time for other people to step in now. We have a National Kids Cup. Shouldn't there somebody else start thinking of an intermediate cup, so that there's something to track? Then we know that by the time we see them in Nuga games, we can trace them back. That yeah, we've been seeing them. These are their real ages. These are how old they are. So that we don't have people who I saw in university playing Nuga games going on to the under 17s. So that we avoid such things. But this is fantastic. These are the kind of things I really, really, really like to see. And I just hope we can move on from here.
Yeah, because I mean, corporate bodies coming in and so many other groups that organize grassroots teenage or competitions as this one can actually pull resources together. And so that those gaps are covered.
In all fairness to corporate bodies and government, they're actually doing their bit. I was talking to a director from the Oyo State Sports Council last week, and he was telling me the biggest problem they face in grassroots sports is actually parents and schools. As in, schools don't have spaces for kids to play sports, and parents are afraid of letting their kids engage in sports. He gave me the example of a kid who is a brilliant mathematician in Ibadan, and the boy is also a fantastic Scrabble player, but the parents wouldn't let him go with them to go and play Scrabble. And I think that this is still an issue we have. Like with what I've seen now at the Kids Cup, for example, if we had a proper scholarship scheme in motion, there should be secondary schools rushing to get these kids on football scholarships, because they have the ability. I mean, from here in Nigeria, people apply for basketball scholarships and American football scholarships from here. But our schools here are not offering these services.
This can actually be a national policy.
There should be some quota. There should be some quota for sports. And, you know, if your performance in sports relates directly to the kind of sporting grants you get, then you will not find people abusing the system. They will have to give the best talent scholarships. I mean, already you've seen these kids, you want to win Principal's Cup as a secondary school, you want to start getting the talent in early. Like the Americans do, you draft them in, and you now have a fresh set of talents coming in. That way, there's always a way to monitor these boys and still train them. If they don't play football, they get an education, so their talent does something for them.
Was this far away, or would it be out of place to advocate that certain people who have played football, who know football, get into football administration and see how they can help correct all of these ills?
I think one of the greatest, you just pointed out something, one of the greatest disservices we've done sports in Nigeria is that ex-sportsmen have not gone back to school in large numbers, developed themselves, and come back to take over. I mean, look at foreign players. Before they retire, they're taking coaching courses. They are coaching youth teams. Some of them are already TV pundits. You can see the natural graduation. But here we seem to have people who leave sports and go into business. They just remove their hands from it, forgetting that they for a long time, for at least a decade at least, had a day-to-day interaction with sports and can provide more for Nigeria.
Is that not also partly because we've not made it lucrative? Because if they go into it, they will always ask, what's in it for them?
But that's the problem. Someone has to make it lucrative. Everybody can't wait for the next person to make it lucrative. I always like to use the English Premiership because it's an example of how it should be done. You just have, all you need is just media, government, corporate bodies, and that's the end.
What about administration?
The administration is the government end. I mean, the Premiership is just the English FA, British Sky Broadcasting, and Barclays Bank. That's what it is. In Nigeria now, that's what we need. But that English FA part that I mentioned, and where it is key, is that it's full of ex-internationals.
But ours here
is full of journeymen and field journalists and government appointees and national character beneficiaries. That's what we have as sports administrators in Nigeria. Sadly, like everything else, you have to have national character met. Somebody appoints somebody from his state. So that's what we have as administrators. So it's really sad. So the capacity and the technical know-how is not really there. Yes, there are one or two good people, but sadly they're not in positions to make changes. What you've said now about a policy, for instance, benefits both our education and our sports. This is two ministries that have to come together if you're going to have a kind of scholarship policy where every school must take on a quota. Already some private schools are doing it on their own. I would mention names, but I coach kids and scouts for academies, and I know, and I've seen private schools that do it. But this is just on their own.
I hope they're being encouraged. Are they reaching out to anyone?
They are just doing it on their own. It's usually the goodwill of the proprietor or the owner of the school or the school's policy. But it's something they are doing on their own. And these are top-notch private schools, and I've seen the kids they put on scholarship. So, but if this can be a government decree, so that a government policy, so that you can take kids out of schools that might not have the best facilities and put them in better schools and create a sort of mix, give an opportunity to those who have talent. So it's not always if you can afford it, you know. And I think in terms of sports too, we should follow the American model of the draft. Every NBA player has done at least high school. A majority have done university because that's where they are drafted from. Same thing with the NFL. Major League Soccer is employing that, except they bring foreign players here into their league. I think in Nigeria we should employ a draft system. Let's take it through schools at every level.
Canada also have a very good system for the hockey. That's why they produce some of the best guys in the world.
They do that. So. Yeah, they do that at every level. But we here, we can't just keep hoping. We've entrusted the future of our sports to frustrated coaches, administrators who don't know exactly what they are doing, don't know their left or their right, and sometimes even the players themselves.
Wow.
You talk to some players and they funded themselves all the way.
Sad. Let's look at this before we wrap up. Nigeria, Scotland, and all of this. Yeah. We're here. What's going on with
match fixing? The match has been red flagged. Apparently, the National Crime Agency have found out that from moles inside East Asian betting syndicates, they are looking for low-profile matches that they can fix. They want to actually spot fix, which is make a bet on a yellow card in the 16th minute. You know, it will have very high odds. Fix specific spots of the match. So they've been informed that wants to happen, and across many low-profile matches. And unfortunately, Nigeria, Scotland has been red flagged. This is coming at a bad time. Recently, remember the convicted match fixer Raj Pemiral had said Nigeria was one of the teams in 2010 that he helped fix matches, even though his definition of match fixing sounded wrong and can be countered in many ways. But the fact that he indicted Nigeria and said his tell-all book would reveal more already puts Nigeria in the public eye. Just before that, we had the case of the Nigerian player in the UK who was caught by undercover journalists, one of the soldiers, you know, promising that he can arrange for his brother, even give examples of when he had match fixed and spot fixed himself. So we've been coming here at night as climax with this. A fixture of us have been red flagged. They said that the Scottish team have been cleared of any wrongdoing.
How about Nigeria? Have we been cleared?
That silence is what is very loud. They said nothing about Nigeria. Only the match will go ahead at Craven Cottage. They are not placing and they are not investigating Scotland. They didn't say they are investigating Nigeria, but said they are not investigating Scotland. So it's left for us to read between the lines.
But have they named any person in Nigerian Football Association or Nigerian Football
World? They are restricting it to the betting syndicates and the gambling houses and betting sites that front for those syndicates. That's where their investigation is now. Who their point people are on ground, that we can see.
Well, we'll be hoping that Nigeria will also be cleared and those syndicates will face the music if they are the ones involved in it. But they clear Scotland and not. Okay. Thank you for coming on, Nnamdi. Pleasure to have you here. But we'll be back after this. Don't go away.